So, the next book I want to talk about is Real-World Enlightenment by Susan Kaiser Greenland. I'm really excited to talk about this book because I've been lucky enough to be actually working with Susan over the past maybe 9 months or so and preparing for her book launch. So now the book is finally out in the world. It came out in July. So I'm really excited to talk about it. So I'll tell you a bit about Susan. She's a local author. She used to be a corporate lawyer and kind of lived that very intense corporate life until she had some very pivotal turning moments in her personal life that kind of made her reassess her career and pivot to learning and teaching and practicing mindfulness, secular mind. Well, she started learning about Buddhist meditation and mindfulness. And then she actually started teaching secular mindfulness to children. And this was in like the early 2000s, where secular mindfulness wasn't as much our kind of culture as it is now. And she developed this model of teaching mindfulness to children in elementary schools and wrote a few books about how to teach mindfulness to children, books for parents and caregivers and teachers and people that work with children. And so this is her third book, and it's kind of in the lineage of her books written for teaching mindfulness to children. But this book is kind of how to tap into these qualities and themes that she's been writing about for the past 25 years for anyone. So the kind of central premise of this book is that there are these golden threads woven throughout all, spiritual traditions that we can kind of tap into in our lives through these kind of life skills that we all have, but maybe could use some more cultivation or development. And so what she calls these universal themes, things like compassion and playfulness and attention and balance. This book is kind of a very comprehensible, clear, easy to use guide on how to kind of tap into these moments of these glimpses of enlightenment that we can find through these universal themes. And she kind of says that these little moments of enlightenment are available to us every day. You don't have to be a monk and dedicate your life to living on a mountaintop and devote your life to studying these things, although you can do that. But this book is about how you can find these glimpses of enlightenment in the small moments of every day, from being in nature or being with your loved ones. But it's just about how to kind of tap into these moments and incorporate them into your daily life. So this book is a mix of personal narrative, but also, she uses aspects from science, neuroscience, from different spiritual traditions like Buddhism, and she talks about, mindfulness and meditation techniques from different teachers and scholars, and talks about kind of these different universal themes and why they're important. And then at the end of each chapter, there's like a little wrap up section and a practice that you can actually use in your life and return to. So this book is at once a narrative and kind of a self-help book, but also a very practical guide. And it's really cool because it can apply to people with all different approaches to this material. So people who are already very immersed in mindfulness or have a practice of it can definitely use this book. People who are complete beginners but want to learn more about mindfulness and how to be more present in your life can use this book. People that are already familiar with her work or with teaching mindfulness to children, this will definitely complement them. It's been blurbed by the likes of Sharon Salzberg, who's a huge figure in the mindfulness meditation community, to people like Dan Harris and Ariana Huffington, who are maybe more business or like self-help oriented. And then even Susan's teacher, Mingyur Rinpoche, who's a Tibetan Buddhist, speaks highly of this book. So I'm really excited for it to be out, and kind of people can use it to kind of tap into the small moments of enlightenment in everyday life. It's a great book, and it's an easy read and something that people can return to, keep on their nightstand for just feeling more connected to their lives.
Yeah, I think as with, there have been a bunch that have popped up recently for obvious reasons, but I think any book that can help. We have people coming in all the time to the bookstore looking for a book that is exactly like this, that can help with this sort of, bite size, easy to understand, kind of strategies and practices to incorporate a little bit more, mindfulness, into everyday life. And I think
Yeah.
everybody feels like they need that. And often it seems complicated. It seems like a lot of effort when you're already kind of struggling, but this is sort of that antidote to that. So,
Yeah, exactly. Bite size.
yeah,
And she also
yeah,
kind of talks about how like she wants to kind of distill these big universal themes that cut across all these wisdom traditions without losing their nuance, but distill them for everyday modern contemporary audience who maybe don't have time to like fully study these things or want something that they can kind of incorporate quickly. So it kind of it does complement our, very busy workaday lives with
yeah.
accessible, insights.
Per Perfect. Thank you, Maisie.